I am absolutely delighted to introduce Joe Brownell, who's the director for UNL Military and Veterans Success Center, and his colleague Tom Allison, who's the center's senior advisor and program coordinator. Joe came to UNL, I think, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, in 2018, and Tom is a long-term friend and colleague who was with Career Services for years. And I'm going to ask them to say a few words about themselves as they start their presentation. UNL has more than, at the last that I found, 1,600 individuals who qualify for services. And the center itself has been ranked as one of the nation's best institutions in terms of support services offered to veterans. Tom and Joe, we are delighted to have you with us, and welcome, and please start your presentation. And again, please mute your microphones during their talk, and if you have questions, put them in the chat, and Kim and I will monitor and make sure that we have an opportunity to get a response at the conclusion of their talk. Thank you.
Well, Linda, thank you for that wonderful introduction, and you're too kind. We greatly appreciate it. To you, Kim and Al, just for inviting us. We're really honored to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the wonderful students, really our military connected students that are attending UNL and all the great things that they're doing. I'll give you a little bit of my background, and then I'll let Tom go into his, and then we'll get right into kind of talking specifically about the most important thing is our military connected students. So I grew up in the state. Most of the time I was in North Platte, Nebraska. That's where I graduated from, and then I'm a graduate, proud graduate of UNL. From 1989 in the ROTC program, and that's where I got commissioned in the military. As you see kind of hopefully behind me, those are, I wasn't in F-16s, but I was a navigator on the KC-135. So that's the picture from a boom pod, getting ready to refuel some Thunderbird F-16s. And I was in the military for 29 years. Retired, and this position opened up and fooled a few people, and they hired me, and I'm really honored to continue to serve and get to wear the N every day. It's pretty cool to be able to do that. My wife is a University of Nebraska Kearney grad. She's from Seward, and then I have two children. My daughter is a UNL grad. She was a cheerleader and in the DG house. She now teaches fourth grade here in Lincoln at Adams Elementary. And then my son is, he graduated in May from the Air Force Academy, and he's currently at Rice getting his master's degree in mechanical engineering. And then he'll go off to pilot training after that. Of course, he got his smarts from his mother, not from me, and truly impressed with what he has done. So that's a little bit about me, and Tom, over to you.
Thanks, Joe. My name is Tom Allison. I serve as a senior advisor and program coordinator for the Military and Veterans Success Center, as Linda has noted before. I have been part of the MVSC staff since August of 2019. And then my previous experience was for about 15 years with Career Services. I am a Air Force dependent, so I fill the capacity of a brat. That's what we refer to ourselves as, being dependents of military individuals. And I don't have any direct experience with the military, meaning I didn't serve, but it's a great honor for me to serve those who have served our nation. So thank you very much for inviting us here.
All right, so I'll go into kind of some of the things about the center, and then as we get into questions, Tom's expertise, so I'll jump in and definitely be able to provide a lot more detail. So what was brought up again, we have over 1,600 military connected that attend UNL. Now, some of those are working on a master's or professional degree, so they may be doing some online stuff, but most of those are on campus. The unusual or the different thing between us and kind of UNO is that of that 1,600, 64% are military dependents. And when you look at that, the reason for that, this is the land grant university. This campus is really built for 18 to, a little more for 18 to 24-year-olds. And then with Offutt and then just being a bigger city, UNO has a larger veteran population. So where we have about 23% are veterans, and then where we have a little bit, a few more students compared to UNO is in the what I call the active duty guard reserve. I should say it's kind of broken out differently. They may have more active duty. We have a larger National Guard population due to the headquarters here in Lincoln, and also the air base here, and then of course some Army National Guard installations here on campus. And again, above that 13% of active duty guard and reserve, almost 60% of those are National Guard. And we are seeing kind of an increase in that area because last year the state of Nebraska passed, if you're in the National Guard, the state of Nebraska will pay 100% of your tuition. And so that's a recent change, and we're seeing the numbers of National Guard students take advantage of that. We're also seeing students who are already attending for a semester or two, start thinking about ways to pay for it, and they'll enlist. So they'll have a break in their education, go to training, and then be National Guard individuals, and then attending classes here at UNO. How we break down the top 5 as far as colleges for that group is arts and science is about 25%, business college is a little over 15%, education is 14%, engineering is 12%, and then CASNR is about 10%. And then the others kind of trickle down from there as far as the different breakout when you look at those numbers. The other thing I like to go into is we talk about, we call them the 5 pillars of excellence. So really that's kind of our 5 missions that we have here. So the first one is education benefits. So we specifically do VA benefits. Tom and then one other individual, some may know Deb Quinn. She's been at the university for almost 20 years. She's a certified official. Basically what we do is we're telling the VA that student X is attending UNL, and then that's how funds, whether they pass directly to the university from the VA or to the student directly. Now, with that piece, you heard me talk about the National Guard and tuition assistance. That's handled all through student accounts, but the center is really the one-stop shop. So whenever students have questions about anything about financial, about their benefits, specifically on the military side, they want them to be aware that they can come to us, and we'll kind of work in those areas. So we do a lot of kind of education in that area, who they need to talk to, but we don't actually certify them that they're using tuition assistance. So that's number one. And if we don't get that right, everything else really becomes more challenging because students aren't able to attend UNL without those education benefits. So second is academic support. The center has computers. We have free printing. We partner with campuses, but one of the things that Tom leads is we have tutors. We have a budget for tutors, and we're really seeing an increase over this last year. Again, this is year 4 for me, and already this fall was a record number for us, the number of students and the number of sessions we had for tutoring. And we focus mainly in the areas are math, science, English, writing, Spanish, and then we do, because of our engineering students in need, we have an engineering tutor as well. So there's kind of where we focus our academic support. Now, what we'll do is if a student, we can't provide assistance, then we definitely partner with the campus. And as you all know, there's many others tutoring help throughout the campus. So we'll work closely with them and get a lot of support with the campus if we recommend a student. The third one is student services. So you're all very familiar with all the student services on campus. So we work closely with all those organizations. The unique thing about the center is for student services, we also work closely with the VA. So we have 3 VA individuals that have office hours in the center. Maybe they're here for 2 or 3 hours a week or half day type of thing. We don't do any medical appointments, but if there's any VA benefit as far as filing a claim or setting up an appointment or trying to get referrals or different things like that. Students don't have to go to the VA to do that. They can do that right here if they need to talk with somebody directly. I will say, one of the things about COVID, the positive is it forced the medical system to do a lot more of this type of stuff, video type of stuff, and increase their capability to do that. So a lot of students used to have to go to the VA to do a lot of stuff or call, and now they can have these video conferences and work things directly. So it's really been beneficial to our students. And that relationship is really critical because one of the things that surprised me when I joined the team here was the number of our veterans who, they're leaving the military and a few weeks later they're going to school. Now, great on them, but there's a lot of things that with that transition that are they can take advantage of, and the medical piece is one of the big things, and any other services. So getting them connected to the VA, they get, when you leave the military, even if you don't have a disability, you get free medical to help you with that transition for about a year. So really, it's important that we have this relationship with the VA so that kind of that whole person concept, that we can ensure the students get all those things as they make that transition. The challenge, the other kind of big challenge for the kind of the veteran side is they've been in the military, been kind of very regimented. Things are a lot more organized, and now all of a sudden they have all this freedom, and they can go to class. They can't go to. They don't have to go to class. Obviously, that impacts their grades, but it's a lot more on them. So dealing with that kind of schedule thing is another thing to kind of work closely with the VA to help with. And again, work closely with time management and different groups here on campus, but that VA portion is critical. Number 4 is career services, and that's where Tom's expertise is at. And I'll let him talk a little bit more in a second, but really we partner with anybody who is looking to kind of be military friendly. We want to make sure that it's not just in name, they actually have programming that's with military friendly. And the other thing just to highlight about Tom is the federal jobs POC here on the university campus. So not only is he working with our military connected students, but he's also working with any student on campus that's working for any federal job and helping them prepare. And that's can be a long process, as some of you are very much aware. And the last one is outreach. And so we definitely do outreach in the community, but outreach on campus is very, very important. And just working with faculty and staff to kind of understand some of the challenges some of the students will have. We do have a group of students that have some disabilities, and most of those are the disabilities that you can't see. And so, helping just to individuals to recognize that and deal with the accommodations that those students have. I can tell you there's tons of data, but just, personal experience since I've been here of students who, they felt that they didn't want to get accommodations because it wasn't macho, or it wasn't, it just made them feel less of a person. And over time, we were able to get students to work towards that. And the change in their grades is significant. I mean, truly significant, from, D's and F's to A's and B's. And you and all are aware of that, but I really, the challenge to get students to take advantage of that, and so working through those processes with faculty and staff to make sure they do that is, or help them make that decision. The last one is our National Guard students, I think, is the other big one with our kind of faculty and staff. Those students, the reason they're going to class is because the National Guard's paying for them to go to school. And so what happens is they have drill weekends and they may miss some days here and there. So it's just working with faculty and staff to help them figure out ways that students can make up the work that they miss. The students don't want to just get out of doing the work. They know they need to make it up, but figuring out a plan for them so they can make up that work. And again, 99.9% of faculty staff for, I don't even get involved, but occasionally it's just kind of educating, the students not missing class because that, they're sick or they're, one of those things, the students missing class because they have a military duty that they have to be at, and they can't, if they don't show, then they're going to be dismissed from the military. So with that, Tom, do you want to add any couple things, and then we can turn it over some questions?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Joe. Just to add on to what Joe had said before, I'm charged with the career development of our military connected students. So that means that I carry on much of the same tasks as what I did before with career services, job search strategy, networking, choice of a major and or career, resume, cover letter, internships, full part-time jobs. So offering the full swath of services that I used to up in career services. One special event that we had down here in the Military Veteran Success Center is what we term as learn to earn over lunch. Whenever we invite a specific organization or company or an educational avenue down to the center, and it's like a one person or one organization career fair. So they get to have networking with our military veterans and also our military connected students, and just have a one-to-one conversation with them. And we've seen good results coming out of that, not only from the educational end, but also the networking end, as well as future employees for different organizations. So that has definitely been a highlight of my time down here.
Thanks, Tom. Before I turn it over, one last thing just to point out. So there's a strong Student Veterans of America UNL chapter organization here on campus. I serve as their advisor, and then Tom helps out as well. So it can be any student. The group's primarily made up of veterans and students that are currently serving. Really an active chapter. Some of you may have seen in the news, they do a ruck march. They partner with the University of Iowa Student Veterans of America group to do a ruck march to the football game for the Nebraska and Iowa. So for example, this year, the game was here in Nebraska. So the student veterans rucked, carried 2 footballs from Iowa about halfway. Then the University of Nebraska students brought it into to the stadium where they got to meet with Trev Alberts, and they were recognized at one of the breaks during the football game. And that's for suicide awareness for our veteran community. So they carry, it's either 22 pounds or 22 items, and that's to represent the number of that take their lives every day. So a really strong group and a really active group here on campus. And so with that, I will turn it over to any questions.
Kim, I don't know if you want to, I can't turn my video on. Do you want to lead the questions? I will start. I have a question, Joe. I'm curious, the numbers about the number of vets who take their lives daily is just devastating. You just mentioned the number of 22. What kind of support services or what work do you do with CAPS or other organizations, or do you work only with the VA? Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then Tom, I have a question for you about employer interest in hiring vets, whether or not you find them, excited and enthusiastic about hiring vets, or does it make your job a little bit harder?
All right, Linda, great question. And I'm glad you brought that up, because we also partner, I mentioned the VA, but the CAPS office also has office hours in our center once a week. So they're here every Tuesday morning for a couple hours. So we partner directly with CAPS, and then the VA I will say it's been a great resource. I've specifically walked students over to CAPS, and then if you're not familiar, the VA also has it's called the Vet Center. It's on about 33rd and O Street. They're going to be moving out past 70th and O, a little farther to the east. But what the deal is, the great thing about the Vet Center is kind of similar to CAPS, is they do some counseling out there that it's not at the highest level, so it's a great introduction. So again, we've taken students to either CAPS or over to the Vet Center, if depending on where the student would like to go for kind of, and I say wouldn't call it emergency, but immediate service that they need. And I work really closely with Connie Boehm and the well-being, and so the relationship, I will tell you, is very strong between our organization and theirs over there at CAPS. So we work real closely together. Thank you. Tom?
And I would say that the organizations or companies that we invite to Learn to Earn, they are very receptive and very excited to welcome vets onto their staffs and to come work for them. A lot of them, if not all of them, have employee relations or employee resource groups that are specifically designed for veterans. And that's one of the things that we look for when deciding on whether we'll invite them to the Military Veteran Success Center. And we've gotten great response from companies and organizations that are excited to hire veterans.
You guys keep talking about coming down here. Tell me where down here is. I don't know where your offices are.
Wow, you guys are doing great leading, Kim. So we're located in the student union, we call it the garden level, but we're in the basement, so we're basically on the south west corner of the building, so opposite from the bookstore. So what I would say is, when you're having your meeting, hopefully at the Platte River Room, we are just, you go to the opposite end of the building, go down the stairs, and we'd love to, I will not be here, but Tom and Deb will be here, and we'd love to give you a quick tour when you're here. So please, anytime during your meeting, before or after, that you want to stop in and say hello, please do that, and we'll give you a tour of our center.
Yeah, I think people would be very interested in that, because it's just always nice to know where things are. And if you talk to a student or somebody, you have an idea of where to tell them to go to look for help, or just not help, but services. And that's always a good thing to, be able to sort of physically know what's going on there. Yeah, that's great that you guys are doing that. So do you have any estimate of how many, you said you have 1,600 students, but how many do you think that maybe come by your facility like on a weekly basis? I mean, is it 1,600 or is it 600?
Yeah. So I'll give, so we keep track of students that come into the center. So we get anywhere from, on any given day, we get anywhere from 30 to 35, sometimes 40 students a day that come in and use our facility for, whether it's, we don't keep track of what they're coming in for, but whether it's VA benefits, tutoring, just to use the computers, printing, whatever it may be. But we get really good traffic. And I will tell you that compared to my Big Ten partners, we may be one of the, numbers wise, we may be one of the smaller, just because of the overall population. But we get, we're definitely probably in the top 5 as far as daily traffic in our center. Now, it's for 2 reasons. One, being in the union. Some of them, I'm going to give you, University of Illinois has a huge brand new building. If anybody's familiar with University of Illinois, they do a lot of programs with disabled individuals, and they've really reached out to disabled veterans. So they've got an amazing building, but it's on the end of campus. So students are not going to transition there very often, other than those who really, really need their services. This is a great location. Students, in between classes, Some people get a little, well, you're in the basement, you shouldn't be in a different level. And there's some pluses and minuses to both. If you're in the other
Right.
levels, yeah, they may see you, but then it's louder. There's, it's just a lot more stuff going on. Where we're at, especially for a veteran community, they like that it's a little quieter. It's kind of get away. I told you 64% are military dependents. So of those military dependents, they only use about 30% of our services. And again, my daughter went here, the campus is built for 18 to 24-year-olds. So there's just a lot of different things. Again, my daughter was a cheerleader. She was in a sorority. She had great support networks, a lot of different things to do. Whereas then that 35% of the veterans in the military, they use about 70% of our services. And so, that's most of those students are in that 25 to 35 range. And so, some of those things that that younger group is doing, they've already had that experience when they were in the military, and they're looking for other things. So
Right.
I really think it's a good location for us. And again, I wouldn't, I'd like to get a little more real estate down here, but other than that, I think it's the right location.
Good. So we have a question from Nancy. Are students able to transfer college credits earned from their time in the military to their UNL degrees?
So yes, but it's limited. I would like to see a little more of those credits be able to, right now it's about 4 credits that transfer as far as their military. Now, depending on the college, some of the colleges may take a few more credits, but it's very specific to the college. And that's something that, we're trying to work on is try to get a few more of those credits. If they bring in whatever college credits they bring in, and how that works, most of those usually transfer. I would say that, the community college is of the Air Force is an example of, it's accredited. And I think we need to do a better job at UNL is accepting some of those credits that the students get from the Community College of the Air Force. But it takes a little time to do that.
I'd just like to jump in, Joe. Hi, Tom. How you doing? Tell Deb Quinn hello from me. She has worked here for 20 years, and most of them with me. So.
Thanks, Earl. And
You
thank
sure
you.
will.
Joe, I have a question about, you mentioned that the 35% of the military are between the ages of 25 and 35. And as you mentioned, the campus is really geared around those between the ages of 18 and 24. Do they find it difficult to acclimate to that kind of environment? What's it like for them in the classroom? Do they find it uncomfortable? I can only imagine that the diversity of their voice only adds to the classroom discussion, but what's the experience like?
So it's mixed. Kind of as I said before, the transition to that and a little more of that freedom changes things a little bit. Also, if you've talking about what you're going to do maybe on a Saturday night or a Friday night, they're not as, it's just not as exactly with some of their conversations. I go back to each one of their situations is unique. I wish I could kind of put a blanket, but it's really unique, depending on where they were at and what they did in the military, and then their background. We see some students that try to kind of get back in the friend group that they may have had in high school if they were we're here in Nebraska and they were in the military for a couple of years and then they come back, and sometimes that works, but I would say it usually doesn't work very well just because of their experiences. So I think the challenge for them is just creating those connections. And again, that's a challenge for all our students, is creating those connections, and whether they do it here at the center, there's some great faculty out there that, really have, to your point, Linda, have understand the maturity and the experiences those students bring to the classroom. And so they've leveraged those experiences, and we've seen some really incredible relationships with faculty. But we've also seen some challenges with, I will say, PTSD it's a disability that you can't see. So, and again, it's nothing against anybody. It's just, if you see somebody they're missing a limb or part of a limb, your reaction with them is definitely different than if, they're not, because it's not visual. And so, so students sometimes, and not on purpose, but, faculty members will acknowledge that, that they're getting some type of acceptance or something like that. And, that just makes them feel that they're lesser of a person, when in, reality, we all know those are, we all have different walks or all different struggles. So we need, we need help, need some help in different ways. But I would say that the last thing I'd say on that group, though, is I know the university, have been attending a couple meetings lately where not only University of Nebraska-Lincoln, but the system in general is trying to do a better job to relate to those transfer students and to that older group of students. It's just, again, UNL is unique because of, that it's just the land grant, and with the sports teams and that everything, we're going to be that 18 to 24 group primarily. But you'll be surprised. You get it. You've all been in Nebraska, but you'd be surprised how many veterans will, they go off and do their thing, and then they come back, and the dream is still to wear that in. I mean, they may end up going to UNO because they're close and that works out. But at the end of the day, if they could get the classes they wanted and they could commute, and wear the N every day, if they grew up in Nebraska, that's, you just grow up with that. So, it's amazing how many students, I wanted to go to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I want to wear the N, and that's what our veterans want to, see when they come here.
Well, that's a cool story. Do you think that President Carter's military background has been helpful in making some changes throughout the system?
I do, but I also, the university in the state of Nebraska is really good to our veterans and to our military community. Obviously, there's some processes, and you have to work through things when you're in a large bureaucracy. I tell people that there are definitely some similarities between being in the military and being at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It's not, some people may think, oh, they're totally, no, there's a lot of similarities. So there's a process I'm working with some residency stuff with our military individuals right now. And I think we're going to get there, but it's a process to do that. Chancellor Green attends, they do a chancellor's review at the ROTC detachment every year, and he attends that with Michelle Waite. I work closely with Michelle Waite. So we fall under academic affairs. So I work directly for Amy Goodburn,
Okay.
but then I do have a dotted line to Michelle Waite, just because all the federal and state legislation stuff that'll come out for our military students. So yes, President Carter has helped, but I think the state and the university as a whole does a lot. And since I'm with this group, I'll say this to all of you, is that the rap that university gets, that it's just this, and excuse me, this left-leaning institution is I'll tell you, it's terrible. It really is, because we get nothing but support from the campus, and for people to say that you're on one side or the other, there's just that's not the case here. And so we should be championing the programs here, at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, which is, I mean, as you all know, are phenomenal versus some of the rhetoric about tearing down the university. All right, I'm off my soapbox, sorry.
I'm fine with you being on that soapbox. Here's a couple more questions. One is, what are the types of accommodations some of the students might be using?
So the main ones are the extra time that students will get, and then and using the SSD office to take their test. And they have a brand new facility. If you haven't looked over there, it's phenomenal. But if you're, for a student that needs that accommodation, if you're going to go in and take a test for, 90 minutes, you all know this, the student comes in and it takes them 15-20 minutes just to kind of get acclimated because they're trying to get comfortable. And then while they're already behind, and then they're stressed about that. And, the time thing just becomes overwhelming to them. And that really is it really, causes them to not do well in that environment. When you put them over in the SSD office and they can be in the room, have a little extra time to do that. And usually it's an extra 30 minutes for the most time is what I see, sometimes an hour. The difference in the grades are significant. So, I'm just, again, if we can get students to take advantage of those opportunities, they will do much better. And, just working with the faculty to figure out what that, and I will say, so here's one of the challenges though is, so the faculty member would like the student to take the test at the same time as the other students. Well, then if the student has another class kind of back to back, well, then they have to miss that other class if they're going to get extra time. And me personally, that's not fair. I mean, because now I'm asking the student to miss a class. So now they're behind the power curve in that class a little bit because they missed it. So again, I understand the faculty's desire to make sure that students aren't cheating, and integrity is it's again, Air Force's integrity, service for self, and excellence in all you do. So I truly do not want to see anybody taking advantage, but that's a challenge when the faculty member wants the student to take that test at the same time as everybody else, and then the student has a class that conflicts with that extra time that they get. It creates an undue burden on the student.
Right.
Tom, anything to add? You've been doing this longer than I have.
No, just getting veterans specifically to go over to SSD is a huge hurdle for many of our veterans, and just getting them to think about, yes, that this is an accommodation, but you as a UNL student are eligible for this, and you as a veteran are eligible to this, and just getting them to have that change of mind. I think it's a huge hurdle in front of many a student.
Yeah, I think that's not just limited to veterans. My husband's niece, who went to a different university, she was really resistant to using their services for students with disabilities, even though it just her getting an extra 15 minutes to take a test really did make a difference for her. But man, she just didn't want to do it, but we kind of made her. And she got through it, but it was hard.
There's a question there. How do you interact with faculty?
Yeah.
We do need, I mean, we don't have a set program where we get out, and that's one of the things on Tom and I's list, to try to work with the different colleges to get more in front of a faculty group. Now, I would say the university has done a much better job. So 3 or 4 years prior to when, basically when the center stood up about, I guess it's like 6 years ago, we the university now, students self-identify which category they're in. So we can see who our military connected students are. So now, because that data has become more available and more relevant, I guess is the term we use, faculty and staff, we reach out to, they reach out to me, I reach out to them if there's an issue. What I try to do with all the students is, we're all going to have times that, we're going to have difference of opinion with people, and learning to work in that environment is important. So I don't jump in right away. I tell students to try to work, do your best, work the issue with the faculty member. And then if you can't, then come to me, and then, we'll have I'll reach out and try to have a discussion with the faculty members about what the situation is. So, and I would say that, every faculty member, anytime I've emailed somebody, they've responded, and I would say over 90% of the time we've come to some agreement. Occasionally, the faculty member is going to holds pretty hard, and that's, at the end of the day, I have to respect that. I feel if that's their position. If I need to, and again, if I feel that I need to, I can go to the department chair if I need to do that. But that's very rare that I've had to do that, once or twice since I've been here in 4 years. So I think, again, very, very high percentage of the faculty want to work with the student, want to work with our office. As you all know, it's just time is, we don't all have a lot of time. So it's creating that, or not creating, but making sure, we can have those conversations and work through the issues. But that creates a lot of time and impacts other things.
That's good to know. So Linda or somebody said that you guys are highly ranked among other universities. So who's doing the ranking?
Well, so there's an organization called Best for Vets. That's who we normally go through each year. I send information into every year. I will say we're probably going to change a little bit in the other direction. They're going to do more focus on veteran popular campuses that have a higher veteran population. And they flat out said we're looking for that veteran population, and how the campus not just how they deal with them, it's really the numbers, how they're recruiting more veterans compared to the rest of the student body. And that, again, we're always going to, and we work real closely with the University of Nebraska Omaha. We're always going to be, we're about the same when we talk about military connected. They're about 100 more. But we're going to always have a higher, I should say, for a long time, we're going to have a higher military dependent numbers, and they're going to have higher veteran numbers just based on location and commuting. That campus is more of a commuter campus compared to the UNL, as you all know.
Yeah, that's cool. So does anybody else have any questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank you so much. This has been really interesting to me. I really have enjoyed that. I think everybody probably feels the same way. We can all kind of give you a virtual round of applause. It's our tradition in the group to make a donation in your honor to the UNL Libraries Fund, rather than giving you a coffee mug that you don't need or want. So we do that. And so we thank you very much. And there'll be a little bit of money that'll go to the foundation in you guys' name. So thank you so much.
Well, Kim, that's great. That's a great honor. And thank you for doing that. And again, thank you for thinking of us and inviting us to participate today. I will tell you that, I took your invite and I shot it over to the Alumni Association. And I said, hey, I'm doing this with this group, and we're already set up to work with a couple other alumni groups and tell the story of the center. So again, really appreciate you reaching out. And if there's anything that Tom and I can do, or share any information, if I'm a big LinkedIn person, so if anybody here is would like to communicate, or offline or anything on LinkedIn, please reach out. And it's actually under Kenneth, but that's my first name. I go by my middle name, Joseph. So please reach out, and would love to partner, or if there's anything that you have suggestions on that we can. I'm a little bets type of person, so anything we can do to try to increase our outreach and increase our help to our students is really what we need to be doing. So thank you very much for your time. And I know a lot of you know Tom, and I really want to just champion Tom and Deb. I'm not, there's no need for a director without Tom and Deb. And so they truly are the backbone of all the work that goes into the center here. So if you do see them around, please tell them thank you. And Earl, again, I'll pass on to Deb, and she's just amazing, all the great work that she does for our students that are military connected. So thank you again.
Thanks. I'm glad that we can be part of, you talked about outreach being one of your pillars, and I'm glad that we can help you do that. And I thank Linda for arranging this, because, not necessarily something that's on everybody's radar screen, but now it is. And that's awesome. And it's a point of pride for the university. And that's one of our goals, is to help, support and lift up the university. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda, for the invite. And it was good to see some familiar and friendly faces.